Oh.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our session of I Am Every Woman. Today is Karin, who was born in Austria and moved to Germany with her parents at the age of 6. She returned to her home country 13 years later to study tourism management. Change has become a constant part of her life. She had the opportunity to work with charismatic entrepreneurs and international companies, witnessing the rapid rise and fall of the dot-com era, by being a part of it, traveled around the world to work in interesting cities and countries like Brussels, London, Singapore, and Chengdu. Since 2013, she works as a freelance change coach in addition to working for an international logistic company as a change communicator. She lives in Düsseldorf, Germany, together with her partner, Frank. And Karin, we're looking forward to hearing your story. Over to Anu and Karin. Thank you.
Thank you, Anya.
Thank you, Anya, and thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you, Karin, for writing the story that you did. And I went through it all over again today, just so that I don't miss out on something really important. And it felt like last time when I was talking to you, I was surfing everything from the top, and I still hadn't gotten to your world. Hopefully, I've understood your world better today. So, Karin, I really acknowledge your contribution to basically even looking at this bit, that there is something called a burnout. So could you explain to people what a burnout really means? And it's a real thing. It's not something that has to be just put under the carpet. Could you just tell people what burnout is and how is it that you became one of those people who actually did suffer from that burnout? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I don't have a medical explanation for me, but what I realized that something is wrong is because I always like to work, and I always like to work a lot. I like to work fast and many things, and it was never a problem. I always liked to do. And then it came a time where I didn't like it anymore. It was exhausting. I was very tired. When I was not at work, I only knew being at work and doing something, or being at home and sleeping and not being able to do anything anymore. So any weekend plans, what are we going to do this weekend, darling? I was just, leave me alone. I want to be in my bed and don't do nothing. So there was no imbalance, no balance anymore. There was just work or doing nothing. And this really felt awful. And this was also, I lost pleasure in doing things. I was just exhausted. It's like a 24 hours exhausting state I was in, only tired and tired and tired. And this is when then one day you realize, well, there's something going wrong.
So when did it start, and what was happening in your life to put you in a place where you were so much in imbalance? Either you were working, you were at office, or you were at home, not wanting to get out of your bed, not wanting to do anything other than just work or be at home. What was happening in your life that had created this?
Well, I worked for a company that was not close where I lived. So first of all, I had a 3 hours to 4 hours commute every day by train, depending how good the signal how much signal failure there were, or strikes or whatever. It took me 4 hours a day, and it started in the morning. Imagine you come to the underground at 6 in the morning, and the underground is already late, which would mean you would miss your train to the city. And so by the time I arrived in the office, alone by commuting, I was already stressed out when you do this for 1 or for 2 or for 3 years, as I did. So this was something that was very stressful. And the same on the way home, so long days. And then it was also at work, I got a lot of tasks, and I got a lot of various tasks, too many for me to cope with, actually, but I still try to cope with them. But my boss thought, well, this is an expensive woman I'm having here working for me. So I let her do what normally probably 3 junior people would do. So I let her do the work of the 3 because she cost me as much as 3 junior people would cost me. And this and I just was used to do what the boss is asking me. But I didn't realize before I had this boss, I had different bosses. All the bosses before, they took care that I always had a balance in my life. Yeah, so there was times where I had to work a lot. But then it was the bosses who said, no, let's relax. The peak season is over. We have no time to relax. So they did care of me. And all of a sudden, I have a boss who didn't care. And it took me too long, basically, to realize I have a choice to say no. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, somebody as empowered as you, somebody who's been in so many different places by herself, and you didn't know how to say a no. You needed a boss to tell you to stop. So
Exactly.
It's very interesting that your story, Rome, is almost around a single boss who didn't stop you. So why was that expectation that boss will stop you and you cannot stop yourself?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it was habit. I was not a youngster. I think I was just lucky before in my life that I always was I have worked for different countries and companies and different bosses. I was just very, very lucky until then. I always had very caring bosses. And of course, I was also younger, maybe, so you have more energy. I didn't have to commute. So there were several reasons. Maybe at this stage in my life, everything came together. Yeah, I was older. I had to commute. I had a different boss than I used to be. And I just wanted to do a good job, So what I wanted to do was what expected from me. I didn't want to disappoint him, but it's not only disappointing a boss. It's also the task I got always had to do with helping other people as well. So I knew if I didn't do them, other people would suffer. So it's caring about people that they get all the support they could get. So yeah. I think the intentions were good I had. I just didn't learn until then to take more care of myself and to see what's good for me.
Thank you so much for that, Karin. There is a very interesting passage that you've written where you've said that you were living in this small village in Austria, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. And you and your brother would just get lost at times.
Yeah.
And then someone from the village would come and help you both to reach back home.
Yes.
It felt like that your boss, you had the expectation from that person who kind of, whenever you were lost, you were very kind enough that the universe would send someone from the village. They would come and reach you safely home. So it just kind of felt as if that is what probably was happening all your life. The foundation was laid there. So if you reflect back, can you tell us what other foundations were laid there? Like this is one that was very apparently written over there, Mm-hmm. Whenever I was lost, there is someone helping me out. And It was almost like an entitlement that the boss has to find me and bring me back home. And if he doesn't bring me back home, then maybe he doesn't care for me. So what has this present boss taught you? What is this old situation of yours where, people would find you and bring you back home? How does this tie up together? Thank you.
Well, it took me a while to understand that I can learn from this boss, because you can imagine, I always try to convince him and say, I realize it's too much. Yeah, it's not that. So I realized that, and I came up with solutions. Can't I work from home 2 days a week? So at least I don't have to commute. Can't I do this and that? I made a lot of suggestions, but none of them really did find his interest, let's say, to solve them. So of course, then it was a very painful situation I did go through, also because when I told him I need to change something now, he didn't react very positively. So it took me quite a while to really learn that this boss is teaching me something. Yeah. So today I can say he is really something I learned a lot. That's also why I call my chapter "The Power of Pain," because I am quite convinced I'm not the only one who tried to be rescued from somewhere, you know. And as I think until it doesn't really hurt, you probably don't change anything. So and I think I'm just happy that I had this very very good bringing up in my childhood, where it was in the early 60s, you know. Parents at this time, they did let their children experience the environment. Yeah, nobody knew where we are. There was a trust in everybody. There was a trust in the parents to the kids, but also to the neighborhood. There was a trust of the kids to the parents in the neighborhood. This was just a very trustful environment. And I think this trust is something that is a beautiful layer. So in principle, I trust people. Yeah, I trust myself, I trust people. And probably this was the first time I realized, well, there's somebody I can't trust, obviously. And this did teach me that I can only trust myself. Wow. And this is also a message I give to many people. You are the only one who is in charge of your life, really. Don't trust, I mean, trust people, that's fine, but don't trust that anybody will solve anything for you. At the end of the day, it's you need to take care of yourself. That was a big learning from this person.
Wow. And you know what's interesting? You found your way.
Yeah.
This time there was no one rescuing you, and you found your way. So do you still suffer from burnout, or is it the thing of past?
No, it's a thing of past. And I was very lucky because I didn't really did the final step into burnout. So the moment I said, now it's enough is enough, was when it was one of these exhausting weeks with train strikes and everything and lots of work. And it was Friday evening and the train was late again. I was exhausted and tired. And I just wanted to have my peace. So I just was looking forward to being in my bed again and do nothing. Yeah, I wanted to have my peace. And then this delayed train came. It was already late at night, and I saw the lights of the train coming closer and closer. And then this thought came, wow, if I just would step one step ahead, I would finally have my peace. And in the moment I thought this, I realized this is a very bad thought. This is not what I want. There must be another solution for finding peace. This is not the solution I want that came to my mind. It was, I was really shocked by myself of having this thought, but I just wanted to have this peace. And I thought, okay, this is the wrong solution. I need to change something really now and find another solution to feel this peace again. And this is when I definitely said no. And it was just in time before I really ended up in a burnout, because I spoke to a doctor then to see if I'm crazy or if there is evidence that I'm really I am in balance. And the doctor confirmed this. And the doctor also said she would motivate you to change something in my life, in the way I work and the way I live, because otherwise she would be quite sure I would end up in a burnout. And when you are really in a burnout, to recover from this, you really need to get out of your normal life for at least half a year or so. You will get sent to a psychological institute. They really take care of you, but it's a very long process where you have to totally step out of your normal life, and you really are in a burnout. So basically, I raised the gear just in time to not being able to have to step out of my life completely.
I really want everybody to hear what she's saying. You can stop when you're tired. You can stop when you're tired, because if you don't rest, you are going to be heading away where you'll be taking long rest. And that long rest of yours is going to put you off the gear a lot more. And you might even have thoughts like, I don't want to live anymore. And that can happen if you are constantly at the beck and call of someone or something, trying to prove something to yourself or maybe to other people. So you write very beautifully that there are only two types of people or two types of situations. Could you tell people about that?
Which people you mean?
One which are not enough and the other which are better than the others.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Being the people I met is you either find people that they always think, yes, I'm better than others. Yeah. which is in some situations good because it gives you this self-assurance, of getting things done. But sometimes these people are also very annoying because they are probably not as good as they think they are. But I also meet a lot of people who think they are not good enough, and I think this is very sad actually, because if you always think you're not good enough, then you stay under your possibilities. Yeah, and you're always in doubt of yourself, and then you always need to get this feedback from others, but then you still don't believe it. So yeah, so I think we should all become more aware of our own value. And I work as a coach for a business coach since several years, and this is something where I found out that coaching can help a lot, that you reflect this with a trusted person again, and to kind of start honoring who you are and what you can do, and to also honor your own value.
So I'm going to ask you this. Who are you? Your questions back to you. Who are you? And what can you do? That's the question you asked, right? These are the questions.
Or is it a question? I just say, I would ask questions like, why do you think you're not good enough? So explain me situations where you have the feeling. Then I would ask on the other side, where have you been in a situation where you had the feeling you are good enough? And what is the difference between this? So what is different between the one situation and the other situation? So this is how I would ask people to find out more about their own value. Yeah, and what might be a reason why they don't value themselves in certain circumstances.
So Karin, if I was to ask you the same question, which are the situations where you're good enough and which are the situations you don't feel good enough? What would it be? And I would really ask each one of us to think on the same lines, because this is a very good question to ask. Where do you feel you're good enough in your life? And where do you feel you're not good enough? So everybody who's listening to us, you can also introspect, and so can Karin introspect, because this is what she asks people. And who is she? Where is she good enough? Where is she not good enough? So Karin, if you can please throw some light on it.
Yeah. So in the meantime, this is also a development during life. In the meantime, I would say I'm really very good at motivating people, talking to people. I'm very good facilitator. I'm very good in presenting them. I'm very creative. These are all the things where I've learned in the meantime that I'm really good, and I can accept it. Yeah, I think maybe I was always good at these things, but in the meantime, I can accept it because I got the feedback and I can take the feedback. So I believe the feedback that I'm receiving in the meantime of these things. There are still parts where maybe where I'm not trusting myself, but this is more about things when I have to ride a vehicle, for example. So I don't like to ride a bike. I don't trust myself being in a car or on a bike or on any kind of vehicle that moves for any reasons I haven't discovered yet. I don't trust myself being able to control these things. So I think I always like to control things. That's something I would like to have under control. And I just think when I sit on a bike and it's faster than I can think or handle it, then I don't have the feeling I have it under control. And it even gets worse when I sit in the car that drives very fast. I'm afraid of these things. So I'm more afraid about losing control about things. That's probably where I still have to work on.
Thank you so much. That was really honest. And could you explain to everybody what, in your words, does it mean to have control? Thank you.
You're asking all these tricky questions,
I'm
but they're very good questions. No, it's good because it start thinking. Yeah, what does it mean to have control? Control is maybe you have no surprise. No surprise about what you did not expect, which is, on the other hand, totally different to how I like to live, because I love surprises in real life. Yeah, so I love to be surprised by getting offered I haven't expected, by getting calls. So yes, it's contradicting actually to want to have control and not being surprised, being prepared for everything. And on the other hand, I really like to be surprised. Sorry, I need some water.
No, I mean, it's perfect, because it feels to me that the statement that you wrote has more meaning than what you're saying. it said you're not allowed to show weakness to others. You're not allowed to show weakness to others because they will take advantage of you. And probably this is what you're trying to control, because you are actually allowing surprises to come in your life. So why would you write a statement like this, that in your childhood, you were not allowed to show weakness? So what kind of weakness would you refrain from showing others? And who so far has taken advantage of you?
Well, the reason why I wrote this, sorry, I'm getting something in my throat. The reason I wrote it was because I was a child when I was moved. I was 6 years when I moved countries. And
Wow.
For a child, it is very difficult to all of a sudden be the new one. Yeah, because you come in and children are very brutal, I think. So as a new child, you come into this very closed environment of people or community of children. And here you are, the new one. And you speak a different dialect. You are interesting for the others. But also, of course, you know, as a child, I think instinctively, you better integrate here. Yeah, because I think it's our tendency as human beings, we wanted to be integrated. We don't really want to be outside. So I think it's, and nobody prepares you as a child, of course, when you come to a new country. I didn't have any psychologists teaching me how to do it. You just move there and off you go to school. And I think subconsciously you think you have to be integrated, you have to do everything right. You have to please others, or they have to like you. And this is my assumption, yeah, that this I've learned very soon. And when I was 7 years old, we moved again. So within a year, I had to do this twice as a child. So
Wow.
I had to integrate in a totally
easy.
new environment. I went twice, and I think automatically you think you have to please others to be accepted, yeah. And this is a part of it why I wrote it, that you can't show weakness, because I can imagine, because children can be very brutal and they are strong because they are together. If they see any weakness in you, they might take advantage of this. And that might have been a learning. That's not an assumption of myself. That might have been a learning that I have a background in my brain at the time. Yeah, I have to, it's the same in the company. I have to please people. I have to please my boss. I have to please my colleagues. Yeah. Otherwise, whatever they will do. Yeah. So this I think this thinking is with me since then.
I really understand, Karin, because I, as a kid, also moved many places within India, but I had an opportunity to keep moving from west of India to north of India, and I could never fit in anywhere. I never belonged anywhere. And I completely get it when you say that, you know, children believe that they have to start pleasing people. But I also feel that it's a boon in disguise when you move very young, like you moved twice. So how did this help you? Because this movement that my parents kept doing did help me. So I'm sure it helped you also. How did it help you? And how can the children who are actually moving countries, continents, cultures, religions, how can they have a benefit?
Yeah, I think what really helped me that I don't have a problem with change, because change very early became part of my life. And I think almost any author in our book has a similar experience as a child. We all were used to be moved even farther away than I did. But it does, when you're a child, even moving only 20 kilometers is a different environment. So you don't even have to go very far somewhere. So, but it helped me to deal with change, because I just learned nothing is granted. Maybe that's why I became a change coach, because I like changes. And I personally, I don't have any issues with change. Yeah, so it happens, and I'm very solution oriented to change. So where are the advantages?
Yeah, I mean, would you like to go and get a glass of water?
I have a glass of water, something in my throat. I did eat something before I had the interview. I shouldn't do this, I think.
No problem. Take your time. Let me know when you're better.
I hope it's gone now.
I'm sure it will.
Yeah.
So it's a very interesting what you wrote down. You said, I lost my dream. Could you tell people what was the dream that you lost? And then at the end of it, you say, thank God I lost my dream.
Yeah. Well, actually, because I was a very experienced foreigner at the age of 7 with all these moves, I wanted to discover the world. And I thought the best way of discovering the world is becoming an air hostess. Yeah, so that's great thing. So this was my plan. This was my only thing I wanted to do. And then my father intervened a bit and said, well, but then study something first, you know, that you have a solid ground before you become an air hostess. So I studied tourism management. And as soon as I was ready, I applied as an air hostess for Lufthansa, which was, of course, the German airline. And I even got an invitation very fast. So I went there, I was living in Paris by then. And I went there, I did fly to Frankfurt for my interview. I had a nice new dress on. And I had no doubt that they would take me because I was young, I was tall, I was good looking. I had studies in tourism management. I lived in Paris, I spoke English, so whatever. And then to my surprise, I didn't get the job. So they didn't wanted me as an air hostess. So, and then, you know, this whole bubble of flying and traveling the world as an air hostess did die basically. And this was also very challenging for me because I didn't have an alternative plan, what I wanted to do. So my poor parents had to take me back home, being very frustrated and having no plan what to do next. And I think it was a cold winter and I think they really wanted to get rid of me. So they looked for a job for me so that they pushed me back on my path, yeah. And they organized a job for me. And as soon as I had this job, I was, again, they took care of me in a situation where I needed help. They did organize something for me, but then again, I was on my own, and then I did my own way. And I later became the marketing director for a consulting firm, and I was responsible for the region of Europe, and the consulting firm had the headquarters in Americas. So I was traveling a lot, but this time as a passenger, which I thought is a much better way of traveling the world, by the way.
Wonderful. I mean, what are the steps you took to, you know, it's very difficult for young people and even for older people when they lose their dream. It's not a joke to lose a dream. And how do you recreate your life back from there? How do you say, you know, you must trust in life, just take little steps, just tell yourself, yes, I give it a try. That's very beautifully written. I would really like you to take people through when you lose your dream or you lose something that's very, very important to you. It can be a person in your life, it can be a dream, it can be something that you're very passionate about. When you lose something, whether it's small or big, how does one bounce back to life? Thank you.
First of all, I think it's important to give room to mourn the loss of the dream. I think because a dream is a dream, and this means it has a high value for you. And when it's not possible, I think it's also time to be sad about it. Yeah, so really to give it time to say goodbye to it. But then, of course, it's necessary that you find a new path, and I think people can help there a lot. That people help you. It can be friends, it can be parents, it can be a coach, whoever. That you find out what else would you like, or what was it of the dream that you liked. Yeah. So for me, it was traveling. Then the answer would be, say that what I liked about my dream was traveling, discovering the world. Then you can say, okay, how can you live this dream, but by not being an air hostess? Yeah. So the solution would be you look for an international company where you look for a job where you can travel and stuff like this. So this is how you don't have to give up the whole dream, but you can probably find a new way of living your dream. But for this, sometimes you need to find out first, what was it that made this dream your dream?
That's so important, which means for you, it wasn't a dream to be an air hostess, but it was a dream to travel.
Exactly.
So you really didn't lose your dream.
No, I didn't lose my dream. I found I traveled in a different way. I just thought this is the easiest way. But of course, I never have thought that I would make such a career. It was never in my plan, but it happened then. And then I found out, well, I'm traveling now. I'm discovering the world, and the company pays for it. So
yeah, I mean, what can be better? So
yeah,
two things:
exactly.
she wanted to travel, and she wanted someone to pay for it.
Exactly.
And both happened.
Yes.
It doesn't matter how. So this is
Yeah.
for everyone who's watching. Don't ever think that if a dream goes crashing down, that it's all lost. I mean, if Karin could do it, all of us can do it. And it feels as if Karin is saving herself at the last minute from everything, and she actually gets what she wants. So over here in your chapter, you also write about you can either fail or succeed. What does failure mean to you, and what does success mean to you?
These are very, very bold questions. Yeah. What does success mean to me? In the past, when I was younger, I think for me, success was having a good title, having enough money to live my dreams, getting the recognition, yeah, from others. Where they said, "Oh, look at Karin, yeah, she is successful." In the meantime, I have changed this. Look at what is successful. In the meantime, I think you are successful when you live a life in the light of your needs. So if you really live a life, that's really my life. It's not a life where I would like to impress my parents or my partner or my neighbors or my friend or my colleagues. It's a life where I feel comfortable. So and it can be a career life. I don't say that a career life is not a bad thing. This is what I really want. A career life is also an option. But I learned that very often I did things because I wanted to please or impress others, but it was not what I really wanted. So success for me today is when I can do what I really want. This is for me
Wow.
success. And though you can say, for me, people who are not successful are people who still want to please others, but not really want what they want. Yeah.
I wonder, if you were lying in our grave and we wanted to really make people happy, would we be smiling lying down over there and just like, just making people happy? And what is failure for you?
Pardon me?
What is failure for you?
Failure, yeah. But I said, if you don't live a life according to your needs or what you said, so the opposite of what for me success is. This is for me failure.
Okay.
But it used to be, of course, something different. In the classical term of failure, it would be I'm not pleasing people. I do not get the recognition that I think I earn. So yeah, but these are not the right measures. I think there can be some of the measures, but at the end of the day, I'm almost 60 now, so you don't have so many years left yet. So you really look at the quality of the life you live, and I think this is why the success criteria also change. Yeah, it really becomes important that what the years I still have, I really have high quality in my point of view, not in somebody else's point of view.
Wow, that's really a change from the girl who would get lost while coming back home and had to wait for someone to get her back home, to the girl who says, if I'm lost, I'm not really lost, because this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to explore. And so what if it's going to take me a little longer to reach back home? But I am where the home is, where I am. The home is not where someone reaches me. Home is where I am. You also read the book which had a big impact on your psyche. It's called The Surprising Purpose of Anger. Could you take us through this book and the number of tasks that you've written and how do they help?
Yes. And actually, this is one of the advantages of commuting every day for such a long time, because on my commutes, I was reading or listening to books. And one of the books I was listening to was this book written by Marshall Rosenberg. And Marshall Rosenberg unfortunately died in the meantime, but he did invent, I would say, the principle of nonviolent communication. And the principle of nonviolent communication is that he said this: you have a good life and you live your life according to your needs. But the big problem is we don't very often know what our needs are. Yeah, we either don't think about, or we don't know them really. But we will feel if something is happening that is not according to our needs. So he says the gateway to your needs are your feelings, because the feelings are very obvious. You very easily recognize, am I angry? Am I sad? Am I happy? Am I excited? So the feelings, this is easy for us to discover. And so, for example, when I'm in a situation where I'm sad, it tells me something. It tells me, oh, I'm sad, so something must be wrong. Which of my needs is now not considered? And why do I feel sad now? And then this feeling gives you an indication what your need might be. It sounds very easy. It's a little bit more complicated than it sounds, because needs, there can be various needs, and they can be linked to each other, and the feelings might be a little bit confusing, but it's a really good guidance, the feelings to guide you to your needs. And it's something that one learns then to listen to the feelings and to stop and think, okay, what's going on now? What do I need now? And this also helps a lot in coaching when people, for example, are discovering how can they live their dream. Then I ask them, what makes you happy? Because when people realize, oh, I'm happy when I'm doing this and this, then that might be a good indication for knowing what your dream might be, when you find out what makes you happy. So it works in both ways. And this was really an eye-opener for me. And this book also helped me in finding out what do I need to change in my job when I knew I can't continue as I did. So the train told me, stop now, yeah. And so I was thinking, what can I do? Should I leave the company or not? But would it be better in another company or not? So this book then helped me discovering a solution.
Wow. There are many, many people, I think, stuck, not just in jobs, but in their personal lives, in situations where they don't know whether they should leave or they should go. And I think that's a choice. It's called the choice point at which you're standing, really looking at it's a fork way you're looking at, should I go this way or should I go that way? And depending on whichever way you will take, it will have consequences, it will have rewards. So what do you think were the rewards of the path that you took? What do you think are the consequences of the path that you took?
Well, I decided after I discovered my needs for a while, and it was not a fast one, I must say. So it took me a while, and it took me also the help of other people again to discover them. I decided I will not leave the company. I decided that I'm in the right company, but I'm having the wrong boss. I decided that I can't do this commute anymore. So I decided to reduce my work time, to only work part-time anymore. But this gave me, because I had this need of security. I was at the age where it's probably not that easy anymore to find easily new jobs. So I wanted to have the security. It was a good company. So reducing my work time would keep me in this place, and would also give me this need of being safe and being protected. But it gave me also enough freedom to discover new things, because I also discovered a need for exploration, for growing, for satisfaction, for loving what I do. So having more my self-control back of what I want to do and not what somebody else wants me to do. So and this is how I reacted. So I did stay with the company. I did reduce my work time. I became a business coach and a change manager. I was focusing on change, because I discovered change is easy for me because I learned it very early. But I discovered a lot of people have issues with change. They would like to stick where they are. But we live in a time, I think, where everything changes rapidly. And we have seen it now with the pandemic as well, but we have the climate change. We have people are getting too old. Societies are getting too old. We have the digitalization. So we have so many things happening every day that force us to change every day. That is really too much, sometimes even for me, who loves change. So that's where I now spend 4 days a week, helping people to deal with change.
So, Karin, I'm itching to ask you this because my mentor, Dr. Kwesi, he often says there's nothing called change. There's only something called transformation. What's the difference?
For me, transformation would go deeper. Yeah, it's like when you have the transformation of how do you call it when something become this animal with the flies, the how it's called, the Claudia, help me please, Schmetterling.
You're muted, sweetheart.
Butterfly.
Okay. So this is for me is transformation. You know, it's an ugly thing before, and then it becomes this beautiful butterfly. You know, this is for me a total transformation. So it's really deeper. It's something completely new. But change for me might be more a chameleon. Yeah, a chameleon is still a chameleon, but it's something it's red and blue and green, whatever. Yeah, this is if you wanna compare it with animals, that is transformation is a butterfly for me, and change is a chameleon for me.
So, are you looking for chameleon or are you looking for butterfly?
I'm looking for butterflies, but this is first of all, it's also good that you can change your color. I think. On this transformational path where we should all, I think, would all benefit from doing this. It's first of all good to learn to be a chameleon, and then you can probably then see how to become a butterfly. Because let's start with little steps. It's a process.
Okay. The last few questions, and this I'm itching to ask because it was very interesting that your parents taught you the combination of freedom and protection. How did they do that? That's huge. I mean, freedom by itself is huge. Protection and freedom. How do you do that? How did they do that?
Well, yeah, I when I wrote this book, I spoke to my parents, and they can't even remember. It was just. I think it comes back to trust at these days. I don't know what parents did different when in the 60s, or they were more trust in everything. I think so. They didn't think about it. They just had the trust that we are protected. But they also had the trust to let us go. So it was natural. Yeah, wow. I don't think that they had a concept behind it.
I mean, Karin, you're saying that the best results are got when you don't think about it and you just trust and do it. And that's what your parents did.
When I had kids and would live at a highway, I probably would have less trust to let them go. It's also, of course, you have to balance the trust you have with the environment you are in. Yeah, but I think we need to. I think we should trust more. Yeah, in ourselves, but also in others. But we shouldn't be. Of course, we still should consider where we need to protect ourselves. So that's also. It depends on the circumstances a little bit.
Right now, with the world the way it is, situation of Afghanistan, COVID all over the place. I pick up the newspaper, little children in my country and elsewhere too, I know, can probably get molested, raped. You have domestic violence going on, cancers on a rise. How do you bring trust?
Yeah, these things happen. Unfortunately, I think that there are more good things happening in the world as well. I mean, I think the problem, and I don't want to say that these are not bad things and they do not exist, but I think we don't have a balanced view on the world because we only hear about this bad things. That's normal in media and in social media. Even people love to talk about all the bad things that are happening. And when I look around in my real life, I don't see this bad thing that much. I see a lot of good examples. For example, we had a flood in Germany here recently, 4 weeks ago. Around the corner where I live, a lot of my colleagues were involved, lost their home, lost even neighbors and friends. So a really bad situation. But what happened then, they got so much help from people they don't even know. People traveled from the north, the south, the west, and the east of Germany to come there and just spend their vacation to help these people getting their houses clean and everything. So, these are the story where I then believed and said, yes, we can trust that we get help. I mean, these other things happen and they are awful, but I still have the trust, and this flood did prove it to me. If worst comes to worst, there are more good people and helpful and supporting people out there than we think.
Wow, what a beautiful thought. What an amazing thought. If you have 4 people doing wrong, then you have 15 people doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And you women together did something right. You
Yes.
put the thoughts together. When everything was going down, you decided that it's okay to open your mouth, trust the universe, and put it out there. So my last question to you is, how can we reframe right now? Because you said reframing is very important. You can decide whether you want to be a victim or a designer of your life. So how can every one of us reframe our life and decide that this is the end of victimhood and we would like to be a victor rather than a victim? And we would like to have a designer life, not just a designer clothing, not just designer home, not just a designer whatever else. I would like to have a designer life. How could you, what are the guidelines that you could give people? Thank you.
Well, I think the first step really is that you realize that you give other people power over yourself. So this happened, for example, this was another nice exercise or a lesson I learned from my boss, because this boss was always in my mind. Yeah, I left home, I was at home, I was in my bed, I was together with my partner, I had a nice dinner. He was also there, always there. And
wow.
By allowing him to be in my thoughts, I gave him power. I gave him enormous power. And I think I once read an article that opened my mind, that why do I give this person so much power to let him in? And it was just in my mind. He was sitting somewhere, he didn't do anything, but I gave him the power to be in my mind. So I think the first step is that you realize, what are you thinking and whom do you give power? And that, I have a choice. I can say no. And again, this is not happening overnight, because first of all, at this moment, I realized this person is in my brain and in my thoughts, and I give this person power. So I said no. 2 seconds later, he was back again. I said no. 2 minutes later, he was back again. I said no. So, I was only able to say no because I realized I was thinking and I gave him the power. Yeah. So this, I think, is the first step. Realize what's going on in your thoughts. Realize whom you give power, whom you allow to make you feel bad, and then say no, and say no, and then no. And the more you do it, the more it will happen. And at the end of that, you see that I have a choice. Bad things happen, but I have a choice how I react to them. One example: we are going on vacation tomorrow. It will be raining. So this is a bad situation. I mean, it's not a very bad thing, but you plan vacation, you want to have, of course, sunshine. It will be raining for 4 days. I cannot change this, but I can change how I look at it. My partner is frustrated for 2 days and looks at the weather forecast. He's in really bad mood. I think, okay, well, when it's raining, I take a book with me. I always wanted to read, I bring another bottle of wine, maybe I can then bring, or I bring my painting stuff with me. Maybe I can create some nice cards. So I react, I say, okay, it will be raining. This is not what I wanted, but how can it? So this is my decision, how I react to it. I use it as a creative phase rather than being in bad mood because it's raining. Yeah. So I have a choice. This is my choice, how I react on this bad situation.
Wow. So it's very powerful to learn how to say no. It's even more powerful to give yourself choices. So I'm going to give all of you a choice to ask her a question over here. And if you want to say no, that's okay. But it would be great if you could, at least say to her how you felt about her story, share yourself with her, encourage her maybe, or ask her a question. Thank you. So who would like to ask her anything? Christine, Farhan, Claudia, Anya, and anybody on the Facebook. Yes, Farhan, go ahead.
first of all, thanks to both of you. I mean, Anu, you asked amazingly perfect questions, and
Thank
Karin, you answered them perfectly. So it was a
Thank
very,
you.
very, very interesting and thoughtful session. So thank you both for that. And Karin, you seem to have gotten so much sophistication. I'm impressed. I mean, you know, like, I mean, to learn all these lessons from your life, I mean, and to articulate them so well as a coach is something very, very great. When I listened to you, I saw several people in my life, my son, my grandchild whose life got changed. She's 6 and she got moved to a country, and that when she's 7, she's going to move back to another country. My question was, what can you do to the children? How can you deal with the children? And I can just see all this stuff going on her life. Like her teachers are in, oh, Juliana, you're perfect. And she's trying to be perfect. And how can we help them so that they don't just get this, that they have to be perfect all the time? What can we do to the children?
Thank you for that question.
It's a great question. And of course, all the children have different characters, and every character will deal differently with it. So it's, I think this is you know it better than I, because I don't have any kids, but raising kids is very difficult because they're all different from the first moment on. But I think, first of all, giving this safe net. So when they move to knowing at home is your safe place. In this place, you can be like you are. You are. There's nothing wrong with you. Yeah. So always confirming, if you are silent and want to read books, this is also good. And if you are more lively and want to go out, that's also good. So, you know, give these kids the confirmation they are good as they are. But at the same time, also teaching them to look for a place where they perfectly fit. Yeah. Of course, we need to go to school, and of course, we need to do things that's a must. But especially later, when you look for jobs, for example, if you're unhappy in a job, it's not something wrong with you to learn that. Then you are not in the right place. Yeah. So I think that's something that you can teach kids very, very early. Yeah. At home is your safe place. You're allowed to be who you are. And then when you find outside this is not the perfect place, then let's look, what can we do? What would you need? It's always a good question also when I talk with people who are in a change situation and we have the change curve where you end up and it's very bad in the valley of tears. We ask people, what would you need to get out of there? And everybody would have a different need, of course. Yeah, that's why I said that there's no one solution for everybody. But asking the kids, if you're outside your cozy net, and where you have probably to behave different and you don't like to do it, what would you need to make it easier for you? I could imagine that this maybe work together with them, talk about it.
Great. Well, thank you. I'm not the mother, unfortunately, but you know, I will watch for those signs.
And you know, and asking kids to, that's also one of the beliefs many of us have in their mind, you need to be perfect or good. Yeah. Of course, any of this beliefs you have a good reason why you have it. You know, of course, parents want the best for the kids, and then they tell the kids you need to be perfect because they want to help their kids to survive in life. So the intention, I think, of all this is good. I believe there's a good purpose, especially when it comes to parents. But one also has to tell them at the same time, but when is it enough? Yeah. When should you stop being perfect? So again, listen to your feelings. I think that actually a nonviolent communication works very well with kids as well. A friend of mine, she runs a school, and she was impressed by this principle, and she did test it with kids. And kids are able to listen to their feelings and needs much better than we are.
I have a question for Karin.
Yes, Claudia, go ahead.
Again, thank you, Karin, for being so sincere and so articulate in your answers, and Arno for asking all these wonderful questions. You know, you talked about change a lot, and then I had the question in my mind. So what is the difference for you between change and transformation? And you so beautifully explained it. And you said something along the line, it would be good if everybody transformed, something along that line. And I wanted to ask you why. Why transformation? What is so relevant and important about it?
Yeah, I think it would be good because I think, especially also what Ferhan just said, or what we talked about, when you're a kid, you, I think at the early stage, you get formed in a certain direction. I think most of us experience this, that it's not our free choice how we grow up and what we do in our lives. And my experience is that many of us, it does not mean that everybody's in the situation, but I think many of us live a life that's not 100% who they are and what they are. That's why I think a transformation would be good. For me, a transformation is finding out who you really are. Yeah. So, and I think at least thinking about it, and maybe you find out I'm already a butterfly. I don't need to transform anymore. But I think most of us will find out we are not a butterfly yet. And I think it helps just to be more fulfilled in life. So at least that would be the goal.
So Karin, what I heard you saying is change is about what makes me happy, and transformation is about who am I.
Yeah.
I like that.
I mean, change is about accepting that life is that it's there. Change is about knowing you can't stand still. Even so, we as human beings don't like change. Yeah, we like traditions. We like processes we have learned because it's less energy taking. So this is the funny part of it. We don't like to change because we are programmed to not waste energy. And when you don't change, then you run in autopilot. That is much easier. But life is about change, especially in these times. And I think first of all is to accept that change is there, not be afraid of it. And then also when you change the situation, always have in mind, who am I? So how can I have this transformational part always be connected? So more change and transformation, me more hand in hand, maybe.
Thank you.
Don't know if it became clear, but
thank you.
So Karin, I'm wondering how would you know that you become a butterfly? How would one know that I've become a butterfly and I don't need to work on myself anymore?
Personally, I think this is not a good goal to be this butterfly, because we all know that butterflies, once they're there, they have a very short lifespan. Yeah, so once you're a butterfly, you're basically almost dead. So I think it's not about being the butterfly in its own beauty. It's the approach to becoming the butterfly every day a little bit more. Yeah, and actually, I think we will transform until we die, and then we will transform back to something else. So I think the transformation will never end.
Thank you so much. Anya, Christine, would you like to ask her anything or tell her how you found? And Louisa is there on Facebook and she's been writing a lot. So thank you, Louisa. Yes.
I just have a funny way of with children. We were talking about the children. And what I always observe is that we teach the children to walk and talk. And then later we tell them to shut up and sit down. And it's quite interesting because kids evolve so fantastically. And it's a contradiction, you know, we teach them walk and talk and then shut up and sit down. And, you know, I had my grandchildren here again, and it was so cute how they innocently observe things. And for instance, which comes to my mind is the young one, Luca. You know, in Bavaria, you have lots of houses are painted and they have like fresks on it. And he said to me, Nonni, why are there so many tattoos on the house? And I thought that was so fantastic, you know. And when you spend time with children, it also helps you to you know, to rethink and reevaluate, and I love that. And tattoos on the house, you know, in the fresken, it's really amazing. And children can teach you so much, so much. And yes, you need to protect them. Yes, you have to teach them good and bad and everything, but they will have to go through the school like we also had to do, you know, and become a butterfly or a chameleon to start off with. And yeah, it's interesting. We should spend actually more time with little kids. They really still are so innocent, and you can learn a lot from them.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you,
agree.
Anna.
They're great teachers.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny, Karin, that Karin, my chapter is called "Learn to be a Chameleon."
You see, yeah, you're right. Yeah. So
And
the next chapter will then be learn to become a butterfly, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So Karin,
Wonderful. Christine, you have a question?
I would just wanted to say, just very, I love your knowledge that you have and the words that you've said about change and the whole thing about needing to prove and whatever and fitting into those boxes. I don't think I live in a box now, but I think I was well and truly in a box that I put myself in because of my family. I do wish that I had your knowledge or you around when I was working or when I was in, because I stayed in the same business for 30 years and I know it was the wrong place for me to be in when I look back now, but yes, you know, change would have been good. And yeah, I'm still growing and developing even at 63. So, and like you say, I will continue to change and be different. But yes, thank you for your wonderful answers to the questions that Anu gave you, and she does ask some amazing questions. So thank you both.
And if you want to have some food for thought, maybe Christine, then think if you had all this, let's say, advice or ideas 20 years earlier, let's say, what learning would you have missed then? Because you know, and then think if you really wish you had it earlier, because there might have been some waste of time for some things. But maybe have a list and see what you have learned through all these things, and which you don't want to give up anymore. I think there's always a right time for something.
Yeah. Thank you.
I want to acknowledge Karin here for the drawings that she's done in the book. Haven't you helped everybody with the cups?
Yes.
So that's the last question to wind up today. Why the cup? And how did you come up with that idea? And that was very generous of you to create it for everyone. But really, why that shape as a cup? And how did it ever come to you? And those creative ideas. And you seem to be someone who's very talented, likes to hide in the background and can rewrite life and can be in the place of not being enough to being better. And it's very interesting how you're putting it all together. I would really like to know, how did you make it enough for everyone by creating that beautiful cup for all the 15 ladies? Thank you.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I used to work 5 years in a consulting firm, and in the consulting firm, you get PowerPoint bombarded. Yeah. And I just was looking for another way of not always having to speak via PowerPoint, because I realized when you present with your PowerPoint slides, people fall asleep, and yourself, you always share the PowerPoints and you are not yourself anymore. And that's when I had my coaching training. They were painting all the time. So I said, well, I had a whole 2 years of coaching exercise with no single PowerPoint slide. Yeah. So this really said this, and this is a great way of communicating and transporting know-how. And that's how I learned how to draw and how to illustrate things. And I discovered that it's really something I'm good at in finding the right pictures and paintings. And I'm not even a very accurate painter. I just paint a little bit, fast. But it has an impression. Everything is better than a PowerPoint. Yeah, this is my learning, and I tested it with a lot of people, old, young ones, managers, not managers. And so when we sat together in our coffee mornings, and we shared our stories, Claudia said, "Well, we are sharing our stories. I'm interviewing them. It would be nice if the ladies could keep something." And so I came up with the idea that I developed a framework for our stories. Who are we? And people shared their stories, and then the women gave feedback. They gave a word that resonated most with the story. And I collected the words and did paint them into this frame I created. So each woman now has a painting that looks a little bit similar because there's always the same frame, but with the words and the story behind and how I develop the words in pictures, every picture looks totally different. So Christine has a lot of butterflies in her story, for example, with the words in it. And so when we were in the marketing committee and decided how would the book look like, we said we need something for the internal design as well, or we thought it would be nice to have something inside the book as well. And because it all started with coffee mornings, well, the idea was, well, why don't we? And I think even Christine, you had the idea, if I remember correctly. Christine said, well, there are glasses filled with words. Why don't we do something like this? And then I said, well, let's then take coffee mugs and we fill them with words. So, and we fill them, the authors fill a coffee mug that they liked with the words that most resonated in the story that they wanted to bring across. So it's a teamwork. It was a teamwork. One idea gave the others. And we thought it would be nice. I was not creative enough to have 15 different coffee mugs designs. So I think I made 6 different coffee mugs designs. And then we asked the authors to choose their preferred coffee mug. So yeah, that's how it all started and ended with the coffee mugs.
Yeah, we actually would like to do some more work with the coffee mugs, but we haven't yet got that far with it. I'm sure we're going to have marketing committee meetings coming back soon because we have some more things to do. But yes, and it was the whole thing. We actually, I think at the end of the book, don't we? We have a blank coffee mug for people to say, what would you put in? What are your words? So it helps them with regard to writing their story, getting them.
I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, we have a empty mug in the book.
It's a very they're beautiful mugs, and I think it's such a brilliant idea. The thought that came is when you get up in the morning and have a cup of coffee or tea, why not add one word in it, like the sugar pill that you add anyways? Why not add one good word into your coffee or your tea to begin and empower your day so that the change that you're looking for becomes an internal part of you rather than it begins with the day beginning with your cup of coffee or tea. So thank you, Karin, and thank you so much. And Anya, over to Anya for the last words. And thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you, everybody, for supporting Karin. And Karin, you're beautiful. Thank you.
And thank you, Anu, for all the nice questions.
Karin. And I think the one word, the one sentence we should keep in mind after all of this is we have a choice.
We have.
We have. Yes. And thank you very, very much. And good night, ladies.
Thanks, Anya. Thanks for putting it all together.
It was nice seeing you all again. Anu, thank you very much for your time again. And thank you for everyone who came to support Karin. Thank you.
It was a
thank
big
you.
hour. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
Bye-bye.
Bye.